Hey, all you cool beavers and beaver pups. It's Mr. Maureen here, coming at you with another little screencastify what to navigate for, yes, you heard it here first, our last chapter of the year. Holy crap. You have read 500 plus pages of Strayer at this point. That's quite a feat. I have reminded you a lot this year that this is a college level textbook, and you all have been doing incredible work while we were together and have continued to do responsible and focused work while we have been in our quarantine distance learning mode. So I want to hit these last 2 weeks strong before we wrap up and start reviewing and get you in a good, comfortable place for our end of the year comprehensive final. More to follow on that later. I want to be sure that you can navigate this final 2-week playlist on chapter 12. You can see here in the middle of my screen, weeks 34 and 35, chapter 12, the pastoral peoples, the Mongol moment. This is an important part of stitching the East and West together. This is after chapter 10's Christian expansion of Western Europe. This is right before the scientific revolution and the exploration of the West really takes off. And we focused in chapters 9 and 11 on the roles that Buddhism and Islam played in stitching together the East and West across the Eurasian continent, and the both cultural and economic forces that drove that time together and that syncretic fusion. But we're going to look at the role that politics and warfare play, and our friend disease. It is important to note the parallel right now, since we are locked down as a result of an infectious disease, that it is with the political movement of the Mongols that the bubonic plague comes sweeping into Europe and ends up wiping out a third. Yes, you heard that correctly, 33% at a minimum of the overall population. So let's go over our items for chapter 12 and see what is expected of you. We began the year with a meme making project, so we will end the year with one as well. You have in here the directions, the submission, and then these articles that inform the memes that you will create. So let's just take a look at those instructions quickly. You will choose any 3 of those 6 or 7 readings on the previous page. You will peruse, that is close read, and annotate each of them, either digitally or analog, your preference. Then next, you could use an app like Capwing or even create it as a single slide in a PowerPoint. You will create a meme to illustrate and synthesize your learning. 1 from each of the 3 required articles, which means a total of 3 memes, 3 articles. Lastly, you'll be uploading each of these to the discussion board, also in this folder. Create a clever title for your meme and add a 1-sentence caption that includes a piece of evidence from your article to connect your learning and analysis. So that's item number 1 in our chapter 12 folder. If I go back to the folder overall, we have item number 2 is the last of the documentaries that we otherwise watch in this class. This is another BBC documentary, right about an hour. You have pretty similar Cornell notes, MRQ style note-taking prompt and instructions here. We'll read through that together because I do want to underscore a common problem that students made last year. So set up your notes as Cornell note style, MRQ, name, heading, etc. We all know the drill here. The prompt is asking for an explanation question. Prompt, explain the conditions and major steps in the rise of the Mongol Empire. So that's pretty broad, but when I see explain the conditions and major steps, I'm already starting to think rise of an empire. Okay, so what spice tea themes can I use to frame my evidence? This is something we've been emphasizing since September last year. So whenever I am going to dive into really specific evidence, it's important that I categorize it so I can frame my answer and argument. So then the second part of the question gives us specific spice tea themes to focus on. What accounts for the political, cultural, and military successes of the Mongols? So I've noted here, please be sure that you respond to the entirety of the question. A mini biography of Temujin will not suffice. So a big part of the documentary is a biography of the man who will become known as Genghis Khan. I believe the alternate pronunciation you hear is Genghis Khan. The British documentarians prefer Genghis. So there can be some larger lessons that are applied through the biography of Temujin's rise to power that could apply to the rise of the Mongol Empire. But by simply giving me a beat by beat analysis and recapping the documentary that I've watched half a dozen times, that does not answer the question. So be sure that when you're practicing synthesizing that evidence, you're using something that actually responds to the question. That's item number 2. Item number 3 will be, again, I don't really care about the order of these. I've just put them in this order. Item number 3 will be our Chapter 12 vocabulary quiz. This will be the last vocabulary quiz. I have synthesized your practice vocab set down to only 10 of the original 24 words. These are the 10 most important words to practice. Addition to that, you will have a United States geography quiz for our last geography quiz. And yes, all 50 states will be in play. So study those, please. Only 10 vocab words, but all 50 states. Item 4 is our MRQs. Believe it or not, these are the last 2 MRQs that you will do as 9th graders. I know many of you are sad to hear that. And because you have a lot of other reading in this unit already, I'm not requiring that you read all of Chapter 12. So as such, I note down here, you are not required to read the other pages of this chapter. So 521 to 526, those 5 pages that correspond with 12.1, and then 541 to 547, those 6 pages that correspond with 12.10, are the only 11 pages from the chapter that I need you to read. Please type up both paragraphs in the same Google document or Word document and submit them both to this submission drop here. So I know we tried the last couple of weeks submitting MRQs as turnitin.com answers, and that interface has been really kind of a pain for me. So we're going to go here to the standard drop on Schoology, which will allow for multiple submissions and that I won't have to be constantly resetting things for people who submit the wrong thing. So we'll do that for your MRQs. Those are your last 2 that you will be assigned in my class. And yes, only 2. All right. Here I've included an optional, we'd otherwise do this as a group review playlist in class, but since we're not in class, I'm just putting these review materials up here for our Chapter 5 test as optional review materials. So nothing in this sub-optional, hence the word optional, folder is required. Just anything with the word item in front of it, item 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5A and B I've broken down into 2 parts. I think I mentioned to all of you in our last Zoom call that this way, 5A, which is just multiple choice, fill in the blank questions, will grade automatically. You should get your score and feedback immediately. And then the SAQ questions will be graded separately. I will make this known in our call. I will make this known in the instructions. I've written it here in the heading. Yes, all 3 SAQ questions. I expect you to respond to all 3 questions. So This is our last bit of new work. Our last chapter is a 2-week playlist starting tomorrow, May the 11th through Monday, May 25. Everything is here. Everything will be ready to rock for you. I will make the all of the testing items available after our this Friday, our Zoom call. So you'll have about 10 days with all 3 parts of the assessments open for Chapter 12, Pastoral Peoples and the Mongol Moment. All right. Peace out.